It's like my 8th time trying to fit my big ass head inside of this video. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Jess. Today I wanted to do the I Dare You tag. I was tagged by Coffee Chatter and I will link her channel down below, as well as a couple of other people that I want to go ahead and tag. This tag is very extensive, so I think we should just get started as soon as we can because there are 19 questions on this. This is the longest tag I think I've ever done, but I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you do, please subscribe and let's go ahead and just get started. Alright, so question number 1 is a book that has been on your shelves the longest, and that would be Different Seasons by Stephen King. I have a super busted, beat up like hardcover version of this. I actually bought this to replace the original version that I had because I carried that one around with me so much that it was like a shitty paperback, but the cover had fallen off, so I had duct taped a new cover onto it, and I had had that book since I was little. So I would say I haven't had this particular version of it with me the longest. When it comes to book that I have owned the longest, it would definitely be Different Seasons by Stephen King. And this book is amazing. It's a bunch of short stories together. I love his short story work, so definitely the oldest book that I have. Alright, so question number 2 is currently reading last book read and book you'll be reading next. I am currently reading Winter Song by S.J. Jones. And honestly, I'm not really liking it. I sort of like it, I like the world that it's in, but there's just something about it. It feels like it's trying too hard to me, so I'm not really enjoying it. But the last book I read is Waking Gods by Silvia Kay, and I really, really loved that. That was like an unexpected favorite of mine. That whole series is really amazing. And then the next book I'm going to be trying to read is Six of Crows. That is the last couple of books on my TBR for this month before my booktubeathon TBR, so I'm very much so looking forward to reading those. Number 3 is one book that you like that everyone hated, and I don't actually think that I own a book like that. It tends to be the other way around, that people love books and I hate them, so I couldn't find anything on my shelves that I think that I was a super big fan of that everybody else didn't like. Number 4 is one book that you keep telling yourself you're going to read but you probably won't. I don't have a book like that either because I don't tend to buy books, or people don't gift me books if I don't have the intention of reading them. So people who give me books tend to know what I like and don't like, so I don't own any books that were gifted to me that I don't think I'm going to read, and I don't buy books if I don't have the intention of reading them. So that's just me. I just buy books that I want to read, so if I don't want to read them, I don't buy them. Question number 5 is what book are you saving for retirement? I'm not saving any books for retirement. I think that there are so many books that come out each year that if I was saving a book for retirement, it would change by the time I was old enough to retire anyway. So I'm just going to read the books that I own, continue to buy books that I want to read, and when I'm older, I'm just going to buy the books that are out then when I'm retired and just read them then. Number 6 is last page. Read it first or wait till the end. Sometimes I will read the last paragraph of a book if I've been waiting an incredibly long time for that book. If there are spoilers online that I keep seeing and I want to know kind of how it ends, but I don't want to know the entirety of the story, I just want to know if it ends well or not. Spoilers tend to push me in the direction of that. I did that with Akawar when it first came out, so it just depends on kind of what the book is and the circumstances of me getting that book and how long I've been waiting for it. Number 7 is acknowledgements. A waste of paper and ink or interesting? I imagine it's probably interesting to the author, but I find them really boring. If I wrote a book and I had acknowledgements, I would only want the people that helped me write that book or that I love, that I dedicated it to. Those are the only people that I would really care if they read them or not, so I feel like the authors only really do that for the people involved in their life that help them with that book. Question number 8 is which book character would you trade places with? And that's probably going to be no one, because the books that I tend to read are a little bit messed up. They have a lot of, they have like really horrible circumstances in them, or the world that they live in is really messed up, so I probably wouldn't switch places with anyone. Also, I would miss my cats too much, and unless I could take them, I probably wouldn't go anyway. Number 9 is do you have a book that reminds you of a specific place, time, or person in your life? That would be most of the books that I own. Harry Potter reminds me of being in elementary school. Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket reminds me of being in elementary school. Lord of the Rings reminds me of being in elementary school. The Dark Tower series reminds me of when my husband and I first moved to California when he joined the Marine Corps. I would say Alice, I Have Been always reminds me of living in North Carolina. So I think most of the books, I don't know if it's because I remember where I was, who I was around, the circumstances of me reading a book, if I'm really good at remembering every single one of those, or they do hold some kind of nostalgic power over me, but really most of the books that I have, I can always remember where I was, what I was doing. The one that stands out the most though would be Akamath. I actually have a music playlist on YouTube that I listened to when I was binging that book. I read it in 24 hours, so every time I listen to that playlist, I'm immediately taken back to reading that book. So that would be the most descriptive one that I have, but really all of my books are like that. Number 10 is name a book that you acquired in an interesting kind of way. I do have Rage by Richard Bachman here. That was actually my birth father's book from when I was super young, and my adopted parents actually found it in our garage one day and they gave it to me. I don't normally acquire books like that. I tend to buy them, or some of the books that I've acquired, over the last couple of years is my husband adding his collection to mine. But other than that, I guess you can consider marriage an interesting way to kind of accumulate books. But other than that, I just tend to just buy books as I get them or are gifted them, but they're never in an interesting way. It's for like a birthday or Christmas or something like that. Alright, I gotta read this one because it's a confusing sentence. Have you ever given away a book to a special person for a special reason? I don't know what that means by like special reason. Usually if I'm giving a book to someone, it's because I love them and that is special to me and I want them to read this book that I really liked, or I know that they really wanted this book so I want to buy it for them. I guess the only like special reason, special way that I can think of is my best friend Rosie and I were at a bookstore that's like right by my house and her and I both absolutely love, and I bought her a signed copy, I believe, of a Sarah J. Maas book, and I can't remember which book it was, but it was for her birthday. I just had her pick out a book and that's the one that she wanted. So that is, I guess, the most special. That was just a wonderful day between the two of us, and I just had so much fun that day. So when I think of like a special time that I've given somebody a book or gifted someone a book, it would be that one. Number 12 is which book has been with you to the most places, and that would be Different Seasons by Stephen King. It has been with me in Alaska, North Carolina, Ohio, California. I brought it with me on vacation, so I would definitely say Different Seasons by Stephen King. Number 13 is any required reading from school that wasn't so bad a couple years later, and no, I didn't like any of the required reading that I had when I was younger. I did read His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman when I was in elementary school, and I remember liking it. However, I haven't read it in a really long time, so I don't know if I'd like it now. So I don't have any books that I didn't like that I eventually grew to like. I mostly have books that I know I used to like and I don't know if I'd still like them, so I definitely don't have any books. I hate required reading. I think it was pointless for me. I've always been a very fast reader. I've always tested out of reading things. I've tested out of like my writing classes and things like that. So for me, when they forced me to read a book, it was either below the level that I was reading at and I was not interested in it, or two, it was of a genre or a category that I was not a fan of. And while yeah, I did read them, I always resented my teachers for making me do that. Number 14 is used or brand new, and I'm going to say both. I like buying brand new books because I like buying current releases, but I do also really enjoy buying used books. There's a bookstore here called Half Price Books that I am frequent at, and I will go in there and grab like, a handful of books and just buy them then and there. So I'm not opposed to used books at all. I'm also not opposed to library sales either, and I know a lot of people are, and I don't understand. I think they're worried about damage on the book, but honestly, as careful as I am with my books, they kind of get damaged anyway, so I'll buy used any day. Number 15 is have you ever read a Dan Brown book? Now, honestly, until I saw Coffee Chatter's video, no, I didn't even know who Dan Brown was. So, I didn't know him like by name, by author. I am familiar with the books that he has written, but for some reason I didn't know who he was. So yeah, no, I've never read a Dan Brown book, and I probably won't ever read a Dan Brown book. Number 16, have you ever seen a movie that you liked more than the book? And yes, that would be Lord of the Rings. I do not like the Lord of the Rings books, and I'm really sorry. I know that's going to offend some people because some people really like it. It was one of the books that I was required to read when I was younger, and I have since tried to read them, and I didn't like them. I might try to give it another go. In all honesty, I just prefer to watch the movies, so sorry. Number 12 is have you ever read a book that made you hungry, cookbooks included? If we are including cookbooks, then yes, every single cookbook I've ever read has made me hungry. Number 18 is who is the person whose book advice you'll always take? My mom's, my friend Barnhouse, Coffee Chatter, I really like the books that she recommends. My friend Shannon, I really like the books that she recommends to me as well. It just depends. Like really, if I am friends with a person and they're like, hey, I think you'd like this book, I tend to go with it because they know me, they know my reading style, they know the books that I like, so I trust their opinion on whether or not I'm going to like or dislike a book. Number 19, and the last question, is there a book out of your comfort zone that you ended up loving? Yes, most of the sci-fi that I've read recently, I've always kind of said that I'm not a fan of sci-fi. I do really like sci-fi shows and movies. Some of my favorite shows and movies are sci-fi, but that I couldn't get behind the books. And recently, I've read a lot of sci-fi that I really enjoyed, like Want by Cindy Pon, one of my most favorites. Like Sleeping Giants and Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel, I really loved those, and those are sci-fi. I was not expecting to like them as much as I did. So I've been reading more and more sci-fi and loving every single moment of it. If you have any sci-fi recommendations, leave them down in the comments below. But yeah, anything sci-fi at this point in my life is definitely the most shocking book that I've liked recently. Alright guys, that is it for this video. I hope you had a good time. I will be tagging a few people down below, so check and see if your name is there. I can't think of anybody right off the top of my head. I need to see if they've already been tagged or not. But I hope you guys are having a good week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!